What's up, it's Eli, and I'm here with my good friend Chewy, one of the best jiu-jitsu channels on YouTube that there is. If you don't already follow him, then of course you should. What we're doing is kind of a little bit of a crossover, and we're showing some moves, and we got to this conversation about some moves that are not the most polite, you know, they're kind of jerkish moves, they're kind of annoying, kind of like rude, I guess, for, you know, especially for everyday training, but they can be very tactically sound though. You can use these to set up techniques, you can use these in technical ways that aren't just for you trying to, you know, be a dick and smash everybody and just, you know, be a horrible training partner. So we're doing 5 on his channel, 5 on my channel, and so make sure that if you watch these, then you go over to his channel and check out the ones that I did over there. So these are going to be really good. We're gonna have a lot of fun with this, guys. I hope you enjoy them.
So let's take a look at the chin and the cheek. So this is one, again, this is not something I would do to my training partners inside the gym during a normal day, just because it's not the most fun thing, but in a competition or something like that, I might do it, or something else. So from here, I've got a basic head and arm control with the side control. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my chin that's hidden beneath this wonderful beard, and I'm gonna put it right into his cheek, right into that meat of his jaw, right? And again, the reason why I do this is as I get in here, I'm pressing my shoulder in and sort of putting his head in between my chin and my shoulder and squeezing them together. Now what that does is that creates a lot of pressure, it makes it really uncomfortable, and what'll typically happen is if you're in side control, a lot of times people do a really good job of keeping their arms down so that they don't leave an opening, right? Well, as soon as I start to dig in, a lot of times the hand comes up, and what this does is this opens up attacks. Now, I used to do this as a white belt, and when I would do it as a white belt, I'd almost always attack for the key lock, right? Key locks are a little bit more low percentage these days. So as I'm doing this, his hand comes up, I'm gonna switch off here and begin to attack for the Kimura, right? Go to north-south or side control and begin to work for that. But again, if you want to create some discomfort in this position to elicit some movement, and again, to look for that arm to come up, because really that's going to be his main option. Because I'm over here, his main option is to get this here to create some space. So if I'm here, going in here, the arm comes up, boom, I can attack, either key lock or go cup the elbow. So basically go the bend of your elbow right to the bend of theirs, and you can begin to attack the key lock here and set up your figure 4 position, Kimura, and set up the figure 4.
Yeah, that beard offers like very little padding. I really expected it to be less sharp than that, but it's not doing me any favors at all.
Give a little beard burn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've got to respond to that though. I have to respect that. It doesn't matter, like if we get here and he's doing this to me, even though I know this is a mistake, I've got to do something to relieve this pressure because it's so uncomfortable on my jawline that I have to at least come up and start to frame on his head or something like that. And there's no way to do that without exposing that arm for the most part.
So another jerk move in jiu-jitsu is the forearm in the neck. Now, the forearm in the neck can be used technically, which I'm going to show you here in a second, but it can also be in sort of an untechnical way that, again, I would not use in the gym. So first off, what I'm talking about as far as it being a jerk move is sometimes people just get frustrated and they'll just sit there and grind their forearm across people's neck with no technical intention, right? There's no intention of where it's going to go afterwards. But let's say that if you're getting pulled down and you got a person that's really strong, they're pulling in the guard, it can be really hard to posture up. So what I can do is I can take this forearm here and begin to press away to create space and then work back up to a good postured position, right? And that's the technical aim. I'm not doing this to get away from him. What I'm doing is I am creating some pain, and as he pulls me in, he makes it tighter on his neck, and as I go get space, I can now work up to my posture, and this is the technical aim, because if I'm inside of a guard position, I want to be postured up, to be upright. I don't want to be down. Even I remember in an MMA fight that I had years ago, I was down here and I had just taken the guy down, and he was squeezing with a death grip, and I literally was down here trying to press away. I could not. So I put that forearm across the neck here, pressed away, and I was able to come into it with a punch. Now also, even from a mount position, and again, this isn't the best way to escape these positions, but sometimes you go against people, especially if you go against like newer people that are like really strong, they'll just grab and squeeze, right? One such one is like you'll get here and like they'll do and again, I always call this the white belt hug, because this is like the hug that white belts do. If you don't know how to escape, and again, he should be bringing his arms in to defend and frame, but he's just squeezing. And the thing is it will give him, this will probably make him last a little bit longer than this in the beginning, right? Because right now he's not playing the jiu-jitsu game. He's not even going to get an escape, but he can hang on with all his strength and hold position for a little bit longer. So in this situation, what I can do is I can go in and again, press down. And when he goes up to defend it, well, then we don't need to do it anymore because now I can go into the arms and attack. So the form in the neck, I've talked about it numerous times on my channel. When you use it, it's fine. You just want to make sure that there's like a technical aim behind it. And that's a couple of them that I've used or might use in a jiu-jitsu setting.
Well, the technical aim, like that's the important part, because what's the difference between the non-technical and the technical? And it's intention, and it's the technical person knows the response, right? Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of it too, if I'm sitting there on the other side and that guy's framing into my neck, it's so tempting and hard for me to fight that temptation of responding to it. And he knows my response is going to be to create that space. And if he's ready, you set the pace. So you're ahead of the game. So whenever I go to respond to it, you've already got that in the chamber to posture up or to create that new submission opportunity or transition opportunity. Right?
Yeah, and that's right. Like if you're using that kind of thing, like especially in positions like going back to the guard, that's a good point. Where we're here, if we're inside the guard, if I leave this here for too long, there's arm bar options and all that stuff. But if we use it, and as soon as I start to feel the person, like, I need to get those arms back. So again, it's a very calculated use of that pain there that you have to immediately be able to, adjust to, because if you leave those things out there, you are going to get arm barred, get your back taken or something.
Yeah, if you know the rules, you can break them.
That's right. Similarly to the elbow and or the chin and the cheek, right? Another one is the shoulder adjustments. Now, again, it's not I don't want to call it a jerk move because it's a good positional control, but you can apply a lot of pressure. And again, the way that I apply pressure inside the gym in a competition or a fight situation is completely different. In the gym, it's like unless we're doing really hard competition training, most of the time there's a little bit of give and take there. But one of the positions here is the shoulder adjustments. Most of you guys have probably seen this. I like to do it where, because I like to make sure my game is transferable to gi and no gi. I want to go under and I want to get my middle finger or a finger right here into the bend of the armpit, right here in his arm. And so once I get that here, I pull in. Now, here's where people mess up on the shoulder adjustments. They try to put their weight forward, which this is a bad idea because now if he starts to roll this way here, he takes me off balance. What you want to do is you want to grab get that hook with your finger, pull the elbow back, and then we drop and sag our weight onto the shoulder, into the person's face. Now what we're doing is we're trying to get him to look the other direction. So I'm gonna pull the elbow back, squeeze here. This does a couple things. One is it exposes, I still have a free hand. I'm using really only one hand to do this. You could put more pressure by doing two, but you can also have this hand ready to attack. But the focus is elbow back, notice the elbow comes to me, and then I let my weight sag. Now, the cool part about this is one, it's very painful. It's not comfortable. They get so distracted by the pain that what happens is as you're putting that pressure down, they get distracted and they're not thinking about what the proper technique is. And so when you put that shoulder pressure in, it has that distraction from the pain, but also by getting him to face the other direction, like if he wants to move his body towards me to defend side control, he physically cannot. Like he physically cannot turn his hips towards me all the way because his neck's not able to do that. But where he can go is he can turn away from me, right? So for instance, if here, then his other option is he might start trying to fight here to get rid of that pain, and now he's beginning to expose his back, arms, and everything else for a submission. So again, using that pain, using that pressure to create the space that we need to create some sort of response.
Yeah, I can't do much of anything. I'm so completely taken out of alignment whenever my head is turned that way that, like Chewy was saying, whenever I try to turn my hips back, they can only go so far. And taking that alignment out is another big part of it too. And it can almost be a choke. That's why when you get people tapping from top pressure like that sometimes, and I think there's a funny video floating around somewhere, I think it's Emily Kwok and Ryan Hall.
Okay.
And she's demonstrating, she's talking through the technique and she's showing this kind of shoulder pressure, and he actually passes out.
Oh, wow.
During the video explanation. So that was kind of funny because that's what I'm sitting there thinking about. I'm like, this is getting really tight.
Yeah, and you start to put that pressure on people, and it does. It gets, like there's like sort of a grip you show with the collar on my channel, where again it's one of those things where it doesn't really feel like much at first, but then all of a sudden it's like you feel like you're getting choked, and you could get choked if you don't defend it. And so again, you have that element to it as well, and you can combine the shoulder adjustments with that chin and the cheek to sort of make that like that compression there, and it's really, really nasty as far as creating that pain and sort of getting the person to move. Yeah, so I'm going to show you one that you can use, and again, I'll use this one all the time in the gym because this is just it just creates a little bit of space. It's very similar to the forearm in the neck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my elbow to create some discomfort in the person inside of a guard position or mount to where if they're trying to pull me in. So in some cases, the person might have a good grip or something. I'll put my elbow in here. This can even be helpful if, like, say if they do like a Bravo grip, do a Bravo for me in here. Like this grip is super difficult to deal with here. Then if he crosses over like this can be super difficult. So like if we're in that position, as he pulls me in, what I'm gonna do is I'm literally gonna take the point of my elbow and I wanna put it into the soft spot of his ribs here. Now, it's kind of a weird thing where you gotta be careful. Let's go for 1 second here. If I go too far center, he can push over very easily. So I'm gonna kind of place it here, and then this hand is gonna come right behind it. And basically I'm staying tight, tucking my head in. But what I'm doing is as he pulls in with whatever grip he's using, he's pulling me into his stomach, and it doesn't feel very comfortable. And again, all I'm trying to do is get back to this. So I'm not doing it forever. I'm not just sitting here mashing my elbow into his body. What I'm doing is if he's in that position where he's pulling as hard as possible right here, and again, especially go to that Bravo grip for me. This can be like hell to break. So now he's forced with a choice. The harder he pulls, the more this elbow digs in, and he's not in a great position to take advantage of my arm anyway, to take an angle. And I'll even do the same thing in mount. So when a person comes up, just to show you real quick without a body, basically I'm gonna do that same thing. I'm gonna put my elbow up here and get down in this position and just do this. Now the only thing I'm only doing this for a moment, because as soon as he makes a movement, I'm gonna move. I'm not gonna just sit here and do nothing. So right here, same thing. If we're in a position where he's trying to put some pressure, I'll adjust so that my elbow is going right into his stomach. So as he tries to like maybe drive into me here, like grapevine, now if we start to make space, then we can frame, but like trying to put a grapevine in, that kind of stuff, guys look at this kind of stuff, and it makes it, you don't want to, right? And so again, if he tries to grapevine in there, he's gonna probably stop and adjust. He gets loose, I move. And sort of that's kind of the idea. And again, it's not to say that it's gonna work every time or that I'm gonna do this all the time, but the idea is that I'm creating discomfort for the thing that he wants. He wants to pull me in tight in guard, he wants to pull me in tight with the mount, and so I'm creating discomfort so that the harder he pulls, the more uncomfortable it is, and this way he doesn't want to do it, and then as he creates the space or lets go of the position, then I go back to what I should be doing with my frames and everything else.
Yeah, it's an awesome deterrent for sure. Like I want to completely, if not move around it because it's so uncomfortable and so painful, I at least want to take advantage of it because I think that, like in the case of the guard, like I think I can pop that across and maybe scoot out to the side, but the reinforcement of it and the center like placement, and plus like we mentioned before on a different technique that you showed, it's like you're already ahead of the game. You started that kind of off, and so you're ready for my response, and you're going to take advantage of that. So that's a great move. Man.
Yeah, and it goes back to the same idea. Like we talk about frames and building our frames together and stuff. Like it's the same thing. We're just using that elbow in there, and we're reinforcing with a position because, again, I use this idea like arms are like buddies, right? They're good when they're together. When they get separated, bad stuff happens, right? So you want your buddies. If you're going down if you're going down like a dark alleyway, you want your buddy with you. You don't want to go by yourself solo. It's the same thing. I'm basically making sure that my buddies are together, so this way they can't be taken advantage of. Because if I was to, like I said, go elbow here by itself, you're gonna get that arm taken. They're gonna choke you or take your back. But same thing is once he starts releasing, we bring the elbows back and go back to our more elbow in tight position. Like I said, it's just for a moment. All right, guys, so another one to look at, again, that's gonna create a little pain and get some space for ourselves is just a fist in the neck. This can be used a lot of different ways. Like one option is anytime they're doing a pass where the pass really, their head position determines the pass. So for instance, like if they're doing like a pass like this, the head positions everything, where I could push on the shoulders all I want to, but if I don't move the head, everything stops. So, in those cases when they're really tight, a lot of times it's hard to like get a full space or like everything in there. So in a lot of cases, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my fist and whichever one I can get in there, and I'm really gonna drive this in and make it nasty, right? Basically take these knuckles and dig it into the neck here. So if he's in position here and I get this neck here, I can reinforce here and begin to push open. And then as soon as we get the space, now I can start to move and go for my regular frames. But it's that pain that's gonna help me because I'm not gonna be able to create the best frames there. It's even the same thing where, if you get a person where even inside guard, I've had guys like wrestlers back in the, like when I first started doing jiu-jitsu back in like 2000 and like 3, you know, you would get guys that would do straight wrestling, and they would do this thing where they go elbow to knees, down here, come down real low, like this, you know, they would just do this kind of stuff. And you're like, get off of me, right? You're just like stuck here. I remember one of the tournaments, I was just laying down like this, let my legs open. I was like, come on, man, do something, right? Wouldn't do anything. So what you can do in this position is you make a fist, and you can get up under here and really start to drive in there, and then now you get some space to work with where we can actually go for something. And so sometimes when you get into positions where you need to make space, you know, you can take that fist and you can jam it in there. There's a lot of different options that you can use that from. You could take it basically in lieu of a forearm. You can use the fist. And again, the fist is a little bit more painful. Just make sure you reinforce it with the other hand, but it's super, super uncomfortable because, again, those knuckles are digging in there, and you can even kind of twist them a little bit. And again, this is not stuff, I'm not gonna like take my partners in day and day, and I'm just gonna twist my knuckles into their neck every single day. But again, in those situations where you need to, if you're going like really hard competition training, or if you're, you know, going to a competition or a fight, if you wanna dig those knuckles in a little bit, you'll elicit some response, and typically they'll make some space, and that space allows you to move.
Yeah, I've got to respect it. I mean, I have to respond to that to some degree. Now, I may be there in that moment and just be a tough guy and like, oh, that's not going to deter me. I'm going to stay here and grind. But it's taken a lot more energy and resolve from me to resist that than it is for him to put it there, because that doesn't take a whole lot. I mean, you're just placing it there, you're reinforcing it, and you're maybe grinding it a little bit, but there's no energy expenditure. You're not wearing yourself out. Whereas I'm sitting there, I'm taking it and trying to force into the position with that. That's a lot more draining for me. Okay guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed those and got something out of that, and something that you can maybe use in training, even if it's not something that you're gonna maybe use on your good friends in training, or maybe those are exactly the people you're gonna use on them, because those are the people you feel comfortable doing moves that are that, you know, a little disrespectful in the moment. But, you know, like we mentioned all throughout these techniques that there's a time and a place for them. These can be technically done, technically used, or, you know, they can be used in more urgent situations as well. So, you know, there's definitely, even though something may not be appropriate in a given setting, it can be very appropriate and very effective in another setting. So if you liked them, let me know about them. You know, of course, like, you know, comment and like all that stuff. But, you know, also go over to Chewy's channel and check these out so that, you know, you can see the other ones that I was showing over there. And you know, let us know like what you think about them, so that maybe in the future we can, you know, get together and do some more of these, because there's a lot of these that didn't make the cut. We had like we could have made like 10 more videos like this, but just for time constraints, these are the ones that we chose this time. So thank you guys again for watching. Head over and check out his.